If I cough, sniff, or sneeze, forgive me. I'm trying to get rid of this cough I had for like 3 weeks. Please help me out by pressing the thumbs up button, subscribing, sharing, commenting, and engaging in dialogue with these videos. I read all the comments, good or bad, and I enjoy it when you guys learn something. And I also enjoy it when you guys provide valuable feedback. So, my friend Mike from the Professional Security Journal, he's always on live, moderating the trolls. Anyhow, he sent me a direct message on Instagram. I have an Instagram channel, by the way. It's called The Firearms Trainer. The Firearms Trainer. That's a great way how to connect with me. And he sent me this video. Oh. Speaking of the devil, Mike is here. He's always here. And then, yeah, hey, welcome, Mike. So Mike sent me a video. We'll talk about it in a minute. Sorry, guys. Just a special announcement. We do have, I'll be teaching a 5-day post-certified carbine, shotgun, and I'm teaching it, right? And I forgot what we're teaching. Shotgun, pistol, and carbine. Yeah, carbine. There you go. Sorry, guys. It's a 40-hour class. If you complete that California post-certified class, you can legally teach the 2-day SBR course. Sorry, guys. SBR stands for, I'm not gonna tell you on camera because I'll get blocked on YouTube. And you can teach a lot of other advanced courses to law enforcement agencies. Private security gets interested with taking these classes because it kind of distinguishes them from like other instructors, right? Other instructors who don't go through continuing education. Almost nobody in California that's in the private security sector, like only that doesn't have a law enforcement background, almost none of them have a carbine or shotgun instructor certificate from California Post. Almost nobody has it. I think we're full with students already. I'm not sure, but if you're interested, reach out to me. I had 5 people from private security reach out, or from, we'll say this, the private sector reach out, and they wanted me to reserve them a seat. So I did, but I think 5, maybe 6 have to cancel. And I'm realizing that in private security, you may not have the time off that you have being like a government employee, right? You probably have more more days that you could take off as a government employee as compared to private sector. And a lot of you guys are working like 2 to 3 jobs just to make your ends meet. So I wasn't surprised that like 5 or 6 people had to cancel out. And I commend all of them because they didn't say like, hey, sign me up for sure. They just said, hey, let me see what I can do. And again, they ended up canceling out. But that class, it's kind of a rare class to get into. Again, I haven't seen it offered. Like where I work at, we're the only agency in California that is going to or has offered that class in the year 2024. The whole state of California. It's a condensed version of the 80-hour class. There's breaks, but some of these classes that you take out there, I'm not saying that the security classes are like this, but you might get a 2-hour lunch, maybe a 3-hour lunch. I mean, look, the way that a lot of these trainings work is you get like a 30-minute break, another 30-minute break, and then you get like a 3-hour lunch or 2-hour lunch, and then you get out like 3 hours early. All in all, out of an 8-hour class, you probably got like, I don't know, hours of real training. That's not the way I roll. We go minute by minute, and some people get mad because they don't get to leave early. If you're so persistent on leaving early, then training with me is probably not the way to go. You actually might get out a little bit late. But if you You train it with me, you train with us, expect to be trained. Okay, so let's talk about the video that Mike from the Professional Security Journal sent me. This is in the state of Virginia, I believe. A Fairfield police officer is doing a welfare check at this apartment complex. This door that he's knocking on, it's a gray color door. He knocks on the door, and this lady comes out and greets him. I think she says, "Hi, how are you?" And all of a sudden, she has a knife in her hand. The officer doesn't expect that to happen. How do I know that? Well, number one is, I think he was just rolling solo, just by himself, doing a welfare check. Or I work at, we don't do welfare checks on our own. You get a partner for these exact reasons. Anyhow, she has a knife. She starts charging at him. He starts backing up. And a lot of people are like, "Hey, how come you didn't shoot? How come you didn't shoot?" I'll talk about that, why he probably didn't. I mean, I don't know. Ask him yourself, right? But normally with the Axon body cameras, whatever you see on frame, you want to zoom in. I think it's zoom in one more. I don't know. It's 100% more. Or just zoom in one zoom more, and that's how you get a close. That's how you get a real perception of the event. In your driver's side or passenger side mirrors on the sides, mine says objects are closer in the mirror than what it is, or something like that. I don't know if you guys are older than me or younger than me or watch Jurassic Park. There's the first version, the T-Rex is in the back chasing this car, and then the driver's freaking out, passengers are freaking out, the kids are freaking out, and they look in the passenger side window, and then it says objects in the mirror are closer than what they appear. So that's the reality with the Axon body cameras and other body cameras that offer a wide angle lens. She keeps pulling distance. He does not want to shoot. He doesn't want to shoot, and he ends up shooting her multiple times. I'm pretty sure some of them were misses. I don't. Doesn't fall, and she actually ends up slashing him in the face. He has significant bleeding. You could see the blood squirting out of the camera. It's pretty gruesome, guys. Hearing the blood squirt out of his face. And then she ends up collapsing and perishing. So we'll talk about the private security perspective, and then what could possibly go on through this officer's mind, and how can we prevent something like this from happening. But let me just go through the comments really quick. Anton says, "It's a Russian guy, just streaming games now on my channel. No more vlogs about life in the USA. Tired." Sorry, it's not as fun as you thought. But hey, welcome. Juan says, "How's it going?" It's kind of crazy because me and Mike are going through this. We don't know who's a troll or not. Anyhow, yeah. So Mike also suggested that he didn't suggest. I asked him, "Hey, do you got the qualifications for the Air Marshal's test?" And he's a really good, resourceful guy, and he sent me a link to the Air Marshal test. So, our 40-hour class includes a concealed carry module. So, with that module, we are going to use the Air Marshal qualifications, which, from what I'm hearing in the firearms community, that's one of the most difficult qualifications that are out there right now. I mean, if you want a challenging qualification, then just make your pass rate for the FBI qualification using the QIT 99 target. Just make it 100%, and then you can have a little test. But I'm telling you, the Air Marshal's test looks very challenging, and some sick dude that developed the test had a thing for fractions, right? Or non-whole numbers. So the par times they're like, it's not like solid like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. It's like 3.21 seconds. Like, come on, asshole. You want me to put that on my timer? Like 1.23 seconds? That's what I'm saying. Some sick dude developed the par times on there. Okay, guys. So I went to the comments. I will not be able to answer any more comments because I got to get going. But I do want to address that issue or that incident with the Virginia officer getting involved in the OIS with the lady. For reference, I left the link in the description box below. So definitely check that out. Mike says that if you recall or you qual with the Air Marshal exam, you're on par with the Special Forces. I don't know, but we'll find out. We'll find out this coming week. So what goes on through an officer's mind, guys? There's so much that goes on through an officer's mind. If you had to pull that trigger on a human being, you might realize that there's some psychological, physiological factors that go on. It's not just about pulling the triggers. I will tell you that based on the negative rhetoric against police officers, some of that rhetoric is ingrained for the officer. So he's thinking, hey, you know what? I need to make a good decision, a best decision under stress. If I screw up, I'm going to be jailed up like my partner who was arrested for homicide for shooting an unarmed person or shooting through a window. I think, was it Breonna Taylor? The officers shot through the window, right? And there's another officer that I think he's currently he has an appellate case going on. He got 12 years. No, he got 12 years, a similar case for manslaughter. He shot through a window and the homeowner was armed, right? And it's because he didn't say the words police. Because he didn't say the words police or announce themselves, the reasonable person in that house would expect that the person outside is an intruder. This officer is in prison for that. I don't think that this officer woke up in the morning and says, I'm going to take someone's life. I don't know who does that. I mean, any police officer that does that, waking up in the morning, is truly a psychopath, in my honest opinion. But these are things that police officers think about. And when I say police officers, I'm also mentioning security officers. Like, if you're a security officer, you're going to hesitate to draw down on somebody because of what you saw on social media, because of what you saw on the news, because of the negative stigma on drawing a loaded firearm on somebody while you're in uniform. And what does hesitation, like, what is the negative consequences of hesitation? Well, you lose space. You lose in the space. So because this officer is hesitating to lay down gunfire on this lady that pulls a knife on him that's approaching him, she continues to do so. She continues the assault. Unfortunately, he has to back up, putting himself in a compromising position. I mean, if you're backing up while somebody's approaching you with a knife, you can easily trip and fall. You trip and fall, that person's going to get on top of you. On Instagram, I did a video on a New Mexico police officer who approached a transient who was trespassing. The transient also produced a knife. The officer fell down while backing up, and this guy was on top of him, already slashing his throat. And you're looking at about 2 seconds. I think like 2.1 second or 2.3 seconds, the knife was already like in the officer's throat. Like, you don't have a lot of time to react. Okay. So stigma, again, know your law. I know that there's a negative rhetoric. If the negative rhetoric against police security is so strong, I just think maybe this job is not for you. You're gonna have to work around it and realize that could be you in a circumstance. And guys, role play. carry out these scenarios in your head. When I worked private security at a warehouse that was closed at night, I would always carry out these scenarios like, hey, if a car rolled up and then 4 dudes came out of the car blasting, what am I going to do? So I would role play. Some people call it co-play or cosplay. I would do that. Like I would run to this wall for cover, right? I don't want to say I draw my gun because that's being a bad example, and obviously, you don't want to do that because your gun goes off. It's gonna probably be negligent, but you could, right? You could pretend like you're drawing your gun, have a finger gun out, and just role play, co-play, whatever you want. Play Call of Duty in your mind, right? But it's perfectly normal now. Obviously, there's cameras around, and it look freaking weird if you do that. The client's gonna ask your boss for a lot of questions, and maybe think you're trigger happy and not want you to work that post. So, again, you gotta be really careful in what you're doing. You can walk out your scenarios without pretending like you're drawing, I guess. Hey, you guys know your post better than me, so try out whatever works for you. So say this, like, hey, if I knock on the door right now and if a lady comes out with a knife, what am I going to do? If you have some type of plan, you're less likely going to get hurt because you're most likely going to carry out your mental plan. Now, obviously, if you physically act out in scenarios with reality-based training, the plans, I think you're going to be a lot more effective in real life. But at the very minimum, we want to think about our plans. Guys, if you can't create space, what I do to help me create space and time is I let the door breathe. Now, some of you are saying, hey, Sean, I'm in private security. And when am I going to be knocking on apartment doors? It's very simple. When I worked security patrol, we would knock on these doors because there'd be like a loud party disturbance or something like that. Like the tenants, they're told not to call the police. If you keep calling the police, they can declare our establishment a pub. So just contact security. If they're not going to cooperate, then security will contact police. That's very common. So you knock on the doors, hey, can you lower the noise? Yeah, sure, no problem. Or there's some people yelling inside of an apartment. It's very common for security to knock on these doors and tell these people to be quiet. Now, obviously, if there's a DV, like domestic violence situation, you shouldn't be knocking on doors telling them to be quiet, right? You should probably contact the police. Anyhow, follow your SOPs for sure. So what I do is I let the apartment breathe. So what I'll do is I'll knock on the door, make an announcement. Private security, knock on the door, or police, because I know I get like 10% of police that watch my videos. Knock on the door, whoever you are, and then I take like 6 backwards. If you don't have if you're working in an apartment complex and you have no cover, meaning like you can't hide behind a corner or stand behind a corner for cover, just take like 5 or 6 huge steps backwards, right? Knock on the door, go to that position cover, and let the apartment breathe. Just see what happens. Okay, I knock on the door, and I heard some movement. Go back to that door, knock again. Hi, private security, are you okay? Something like that. Or, hey, police, are you okay? If you're inside, announce yourself. Go back to that position of cover or take those large steps. Guys, when that door starts to open, you got to step back. Give some space between yourself and that threshold of that door. Okay? And again, let it breathe. See what happens. Just don't make contact right away like this officer did. Let it breathe. If you use these techniques, you're going to have a lot more time to react. Like instead of having fractions of a second to react, you might even have a second to react, or half of a second. You might be saying, Sean, that's not enough time. A half of a second is a lot more time than splits of a second. Okay. And then we go back to marksmanship. I see some like YouTube channels out there. These guys are practicing these 1 second like reloads or half a second reloads. They're practicing all these malfunction drills, especially with the class. Those are good to incorporate, but the question is, can you shoot what you're aiming at? I always believe, I'm a firm believer that your marksmanship and your marksmanship ability needs to be on par before you start practicing all those techniques. And guys, if you are practicing your marksmanship abilities, there's probably very little need to reload. If you see yourself in a lethal force encounter and gunfight, changing your magazine after 17 rounds, you probably failed to do something. If you're going to your third magazine, I don't think that you have a magazine capacity problem. I think you have a marksmanship problem. And that's just my thoughts on that. I don't know if this person's hit, but I will tell you that when somebody is shot, they may not react right away. Like even multiple rounds into the torso might not have any effect on the person. And you might even say to yourself, in a real life situation, like, what the hell? My shots are going correct. How come this person's still coming after me? And these thoughts can happen within like fractions of a second. Like you're not just standing there. Like everything seems like it's in slow motion and you're having these thoughts that come out slowly and just weird, but it's happening within like splits of a second. Time is not slowing down, believe me on that. That's just your brain trying to slow everything down so that your brain can process. But have an immediate action plan. So if I'm laying down gunfire and I'm not getting a reaction, and I could swear that I'm making my hits, what should I do next? And I'm intentionally pausing right now so you guys can think and provide me an answer below. I'm laying down gunfire. I'm pretty sure, like, I'm hitting this person. What's next? Failure drill. Right in the octacle region. Face shot. I did a video like 2 years ago about like I think a 2-second draw. You get him in the face, one hit, and people went ballistic on there. That's murder. If you shoot him in the face, you're already like showing intent to kill. Like you're supposed to be stopping the threat. Like there's just the most chaotic suggestions I see in there. Guys, if you're authorized to use deadly force, it doesn't matter where you hit them. Deadly force is deadly force. What's another area that we can aim at? The pelvic girdle, right? You have a pretty significant pocket girdle on the left and the right. I don't remember the name of that pocket, but you can aim for that. But I will tell you that those pockets are kind of similar size to the octacle region. Yeah, you can go for that, but for me, I prefer to aim at something where I don't have to veer off of my target too much, because you have to make a conscious decision to aim at those pockets, right? You're going to probably end up aiming downwards, to the left or to the right. I prefer just straight ahead. I prefer to aim straight ahead of me. But that's another thing to consider. Okay, you hit them in that area, they don't go down. Try again. At the same time, realizing what your backstop is. Remember, part of the firearm safety rules is know what your target is and what is beyond. Okay? In a real life situation, you're probably just concentrating on the person that's actively trying to hurt you. You're not thinking about the backdrop. You think about the backdrop. Stop. Anyhow, that's all I got. Hey guys, when somebody's coming at you with a knife, it is a lethal circumstance. In almost all circumstances, you're probably justified to use lethal force. If you're not sure, I don't want you to go patrol around as a police officer. Something. you figure out what the law states. I can't read through the comments, but I would like you guys to comment in the regular comment section box below to push this discussion forward. All right, guys, take care.